Standing firm, day 66 of the Obama administration. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm David Shuster. With Republicans crying foul about a liberal big government agenda and conservative Democrats wringing their hands about deficits, President Obama today took his case for his budget straight to the American people. This afternoon, the president held the first ever online town hall live from the White House. More than 100,000 questions were submitted, and an estimated 70,000 people watched the Q&A on the web. The president used the opportunity to argue that his budget, now being hashed out in Congress, is an essential part of fixing the economy.
In the end, it's a recovery that will be measured by whether it lasts, whether it endures, by whether we build our economy on a solid foundation instead of a overheated housing market or maxed out credit cards or the sleight of hand on Wall Street, whether we build an economy in which prosperity is broadly shared. That's what the budget I expect to sign is intended to do.
The president's budget is moving closer to becoming reality. Today, Democrats in Congress pushed versions through key committees, putting the budget on track for a full vote next week. As the Republican criticism mounts, the president doesn't seem particularly concerned.
To a bunch of the critics out there, I've already said, show me your budget. Show me what you want to do. And I'm happy to have that debate, because I believe in the vision of the Democratic Party.
Today, a group of House Republicans took up the president's dare, presenting a 19-page pamphlet that calls for tax and spending cuts. Let's bring in Senator
The president
John Barrasso.
said, we haven't seen a budget yet out of Republicans. Well, it's just not true, because here it is, Mr. President.
Well, and at the White House, there was some reaction to that. Here is White House spokesman Robert Gibbs.
It took me several minutes to read it. It's interesting to have a budget that doesn't contain any numbers. I think the party of no has become the party of no new ideas.
For more on the GOP budget proposal, joining us now is Senator John Barrasso. He is a Republican from Wyoming. And Senator, first of all, explain, how come the Republican senators decided not to join your House colleagues in introducing a budget counterproposal?
We're going to have at least 50 amendments next week, taking a look at the Democrat proposal, because it's the president's job to propose a budget. And this budget, to me, is a threat to the American people. You cannot spend that kind of money. The president is trying to spend his way out of our economic downturn. He's trying to borrow his way to be debt-free, and you just cannot borrow your way out of debt or spend your way out of a recession.
What specifically in the budget, you say, is a threat?
Well, the size of it, the overall size. The president is going to lead to a bigger deficit in the next 2 years. George Bush had a deficit of about $500 billion. Nancy Pelosi called that criminal. Well, then what does she call the Obama budget with its deficit of over $1 trillion? He is building up an incredible amount of debt. We cannot, as a nation, afford that kind of a debt. American people cannot handle it.
What about the argument that the budget deficit, it's going to be even higher if the economy does not recover? In other words, if the economy does not recover and there aren't more tax receipts, the deficit's going to be even higher. What about the argument of essentially spending the money to create jobs, so essentially you bring the economy back faster?
Well, that's why I supported a limited, targeted, temporary effort with the stimulus package, about half the size of what the Democrats passed and the president signed, because I thought we should have focused there at that point. But now we're talking about a spending plan that is going to take our debt to astronomical numbers. To me, it's an irresponsible budget. It's a threat to the American people, and it's just reckless on the president's part to do this. He has said that his budget is inseparable from the economic recovery. I think his budget is what prevents making the economic recovery. The American people cannot afford this, and I appreciated his town hall meeting. He should have a town hall meeting and talk to people in Wyoming, where we balance our budget every year, where the governor has a line item veto, and we budget every 2 years, so we have more time to think these things through, because this isn't a budget that does it right.
And because of the balanced budget in Wyoming and the other 49 states, the federal government is essentially having to run a deficit and send money to the states so that teachers and police and firefighters in your state don't get furloughed. Here's the question, though, for you. As far as responsibility is concerned, is isn't there a responsibility on elected politicians who say, okay, the budget is bloated, to state specifically what should be cut? What are the tough choices that you would be willing to articulate right here?
Yeah. Right now, we spend $1 out of 6 in this nation on health care. The president now comes with $600 billion as a, quote, down payment on health care. There is enough money in the system, and both the Republican and Democrats on the Budget Committee agree with that. And then what's he doing to pay for it? He's taxing electricity. Every time you flip on the switch, electric prices are going up, energy prices are going up. We need to keep energy prices low. Why throw an extra tax on the American people? The president
needs to $600 billion, isn't that a transition cost? In other words, if you're going to fix health care, as I think even some Republicans want to do, there is a transition cost, right?
We spend more on health care, $1 out of 6, than any other nation in the country. I practiced medicine for 25 years. There is enough money in the system. There's also waste and fraud and abuse in the system. We can do a much better job without throwing all this additional money. Plus, the cap and trade scheme that the president proposes is going to drive up electricity costs for everyone. To say that that's not a tax is not really being sincere. People are going to have to pay more out of their own pockets and have less of their own hard-earned money in their own pockets to spend. This economy grows when people have more of their own money to make decisions. And this is a budget, to me, as you know, it spends too much, it taxes too much, and it borrows too much.
Well, and I think the problem is the economy is in a too awful shape, and it does sound like a lot of people, though, aren't willing to make some of the tough decisions. In any case, Senator John Barrasso, Republican from Wyoming, a pleasure always having you on, Senator. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks, David.
You're welcome. In addition to the traditional fight between the Republicans and the Democrats, there's also a fascinating budget fight that's going on now between Democrats. Liberal activists are continuing a full-court press for the president's budget, willing to take down any Democratic defectors they think are standing in the way, and possibly agreeing with the argument you just heard from Republicans like Senator Barrasso.